on YouTube? It's your boy the D here, aka the captain of the Thunder God Pirates, bringing you another One Piece chapter discussion. And before we get started, I'd just like to say thank you to everybody who is subscribed, everybody who watches, everybody who comments, everybody who I already said subscribed, but everybody who hit that bell notification. I greatly appreciate it. If you're new here, thank you so much for clicking on this video. I greatly appreciate it. If you like what you hear and you want to hear more, make sure to hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, and definitely ding that notification bell so you'll be notified of all my future releases. But without further ado, it's time to get into the chapter, One Piece, chapter 1015. All right. Now, before we get into this week's One Piece chapter, I want to go over something that I missed in the last chapter. Yes, I missed things. It happens. Now, I was watching Tekking 101's, who's somebody I look up to. I was watching their review, well, his review, because he's a guy who identifies as so. Anyway, I was watching his review, and he brought up something that I missed. Well, 1014. He drew 1014. Anyway, he brought up something that I missed. At the end of the chapter, when Kaido was attacking King Amon, we noticed that his Konombo, his spiked iron club, was cracked. Not broken. It wasn't like a serious crack, but it was cracked, and we've never seen it cracked. And it's implied, or at least he implied or inferred, and going off what he said about Luffy's move, the Gumma Gumma, whatever it was, as he said, as Luffy was falling, Luffy probably cracked it, so the fight with Kaido on the roof was a little more involved than we'd initially thought. But without further ado, I just wanted to go ahead and get that out there, like, yeah, that Konobo's cracked, so Luffy's got something in the tuck, and I can't wait to see it. But anyway, without more, going over shit that I missed, time for this week's chapter review. One Piece, chapter 1015, Chains. Alright. And the chapter kind of starts off where we left off, kind of, sort of. We are away from Kaido and Kinemon, the aftermath of that, but rather, the first panel we see is Luffy sinking deeper into the depths of the ocean where he was knocked. And it's then we see Chopper's continued match with Queen, which doesn't look to be going like it's going so well. We see Queen biting the shit out of Chopper's left shoulder. And it's kind of implied that based on the announcement that was given last chapter, that's what's causing Chopper to lose his focus, and that's what caused him to get bit. And Chopper calling out to Luffy's, like, in a sense of a way, saying that, you really didn't lose, did you? What are we supposed to do? And then we see the Minks, the Samurai, and everyone pretty much, reacting to what they just heard. We see some of the Minks yet again, like saying Straw Hat lost. Some of the Samurai are actually freaking out, saying, hey, is it pointless just to keep on fighting? And they're even wondering, is Lord Momonosuke safe? And then we see some of the beasts. They're going on about what's happening as well. They even say that the dumplings that Speed gave them are great, and they're kind of paying respect to Luffy and the others, saying that they don't know how the samurai did it, but they brought the most powerful rookies out there to the fight, and saying that they weren't weak. Master Kaido's just that strong. And then we cut to Izo, Kawamatsu, and Sanji. Like, look, man, I know Sanji and Zoro have this amazing, like, brotherly rivalry going on, but this is ridiculous. So Sanji has caught up with Izo and Kawamatsu, and yet again he's still carrying Zoro, who is kind of like, who's wrapped up in a cross. But here we see it's ignorant as hell, but we can see that he's still carrying Zoro, and he's using Zoro's body as a blunt instrument. And then what's even funnier is that you can tell, if you zoom out on Zoro's face, you can see one of the sleep snot bubbles. He's sleeping and being used as a blunt instrument, which is great. like I love like even in the midst of this battle, Oda can still have these like funny moments. It's like, oh Jesus, y'all can cut this shit out for a second. But anyway, we then cut back to the battle with Queen. Queen yet is standing over Chopper. You can tell he's got some scratches and whatnot from dealing with Marco and then from fighting Chopper. And he's saying that, hey, I was only playing games with you because I thought you wanted to play. Come on, Chopper man. And then we cut over to Sparrow, who has his bow pointed in the air. He laughs and says that the slaughter of the enemy general has thrown him in disarray. And it's here that we learn that he shot more arrows into the sky, and we get one of his named attacks, Apocalyptic Candy Shower. So pretty much, he shoots the arrows shoots a myriad of arrows, not Areos, arrows into the sky, and they come down and rain on the opponent. And the samurai and other enemy fighters, they just realize like there's nowhere to run. We're gonna get hit by those. Queen then starts to laugh, still cigar in his mouth, telling them that you're done too. You cowardly excuse for a monster talking to Chopper. And it's then that we know his teeth are kind of weird. Like, he doesn't have normal Brachiosaurus teeth. I mean, they've been sharp this entire time, but actual Brachiosaurs, they had like pretty much a mouthful of molars because yet again they were herbivores. They need sharp teeth to eat meat. They just needed teeth to grind leaves. But here they look weird. They look kind of like snake fangs, at least to me. Either that or it's another attachment. Like they look kind of like maybe like needles or something. Like his teeth look weird as shit. But it's here that he says that meat looks nice and tender, and he's actually going to bite down on Chopper. But we then see over his head a crack, and as a silhouette busts into the room, and we hear the silhouette say, "Diamble Jambe," as Sanji, still holding Zoro by the way, his flaming foot makes contact with the side of King's head, and then he uses rotisserie. And it's here that he continuously kicks Queen, and we see his head spin round and round. Well, his whole body actually spin round and round, because there's no way you can spin that head without spinning that body. But he's spinning round and round as Sanji hits him with a rotisserie strike. And everybody's surprised that Sanji, being the badass he is actually, the reason he's doing this, making Queen spin, is to not only do damage and of course save Chopper, but to simultaneously deflect the arrows so that none of them hit in any of the samurai below. And at the same time, he kicks Queen into Sparrow, sending him flying. And it's then that Sanji puts a cigarette in his mouth and does like he normally does, just being like one of the cool big brother types of the Straw Hat Pirates. He tells Chopper that, hey man, you held out long. You held out strong. Well done. And then Chopper, doing what he always does, crying and be like, big bro Sanji, but Luffy. And yet again, Sanji being cool as hell as normal. Don't cry, idiot. After all this time we've been together, how many miracles have you seen? Pretty much telling him like, look, we've been in bad situations. Luffy's been in this situation countless times. Hell, even in Alabasta, which was Chopper's first real excursion with the Straw Hats, good God, the Straw Hats. Even Crocodile beat Luffy, I believe, 2 or 3 times before Luffy was finally able to win. In his lobby, Luffy got knocked off a mountain after trying to fight Enero. I think he got knocked off twice and eaten by a snake. Rob Lucci threw him for a loop before fighting him. So pretty much Sanji's like, look, this is par for the course. This shit happens. Don't worry. So it's then that he hands off Zoro and he tells him to take care of him. He's got the strength of 10 when he's healthy. But then Zoro snaps, waking up saying 2,000. And Chopper be like, what is that? And he notices that it's Zolo. So then it's finally, hopefully we don't get another change here, cause all right, with this, it's looking like it's good. Like we finally have the official the official fight. It's going to be Sanji versus Queen, which I thought it was. Of course, like we all thought it was gonna follow the same structure. Luffy fights Kaido, Zoro fights King, which I don't know how they're gonna make that happen. I mean, with Chopper and Marco there, it's probably he can get healed enough to actually have a battle with King. So there's that. And then the third strongest, being Queen, would be Sanji's fight. I guess fourth, that could be Jinbei's now, because Jinbei, he's going against Page 1, but I think Jinbei's strong enough to get out of that relatively, not unscathed, but relatively, with relative difficulty. And then he can fight Jack, because as we know, after Jack was taken down below, he was able to get patched up, and he was actually looking for the scabbards. So that's something we still gotta watch out for, because we don't know what Jack's doing. But yes, so Sanji goes on to say, leave the dinosaur to him. Dinosaur being Queen, of course, in this case. And I say that in this case because we know there's like 8 fucking dinosaurs rolling around, probably more. But it's here that Queen, yet again, we've kind of been like, when Queen was looking at his wanted poster, we knew, okay, Queen saw his last name and he was like, oh, he's Judge's son. And even here he's like, it's you're Judge's son. So I believe during this battle we're gonna get some type of backstory with Queen and Judge Vinsmoke. So that's something to keep an eye on. But anyway, so some of the samurai are, you know, looking on at Sanji, and then they're like, why do they keep fighting? The captain's already dead. To which Marco is just looking on, like, at Sanji taking on Queen. It's like, this is why I like you guys. like Marco, this old veteran, is just looking at these young cats coming up, and it's like, God, this is why I like you kids. Like, I think he's kind of thinking back to his crew, because this is something his crew would do. Like, look, man, we've been Whitebeard X amount of years, shit happens, we're going in regardless. But anyway, we then cut over to the first floor crawl space. In the aftermath of the battle, we see the bodies of Okiku and Kanjuro, and then we see the aftermath of Kaido clashing with Kinemon, and it ain't looking good. Kinemon is still pretty much, he's face down, ass up on the floor in the crater of the wreckage, because it looked like Kaido just busted his shit all the way through. He's still twitching, and even we can see his left hand, his sword's broken, and he tries to stab Kaido with what's left of the blade. And then, as he's getting up, bloody and wheezing, we then see the exchange of him talking to Momonosuke about him calling him father, about Kinemon asking Momonosuke to call him father in order to keep his bloodline secret, because he was like, nobody can know. You know, if we run across any of Kaido's men, they cannot know that you're Odin's son. So then we go through them practicing, and, you know, coming, like, you know, them like practicing, like, hey, you know, you gotta call me father, you know, I have to call you Momonosuke, you know, oh, you calling me Lord, and everybody's just laughing like, this is so wrong. And then finally getting it right with Kinemon finally being able to refer to Momonosuke without the Lord, and Momonosuke finally being able to call him father. So then Kaido stands above him and grabs a sword, you know, in a stabbing position. He then asks Kinemon, what will these extra seconds buy you? What will their escape change exactly? And Kinemon's thinking to himself, flee for your life, Lord Momonosuke. And Momonosuke, you know, looking over, he's been carried away by Shinobu. He's looking over his shoulder crying. And he's thinking, run, Shinobu, not Momonosuke, Kinemon. And it's then that Kaido brings down the sword through Kinemon's abdomen. And it's then Kaido says, face your death like a warrior. And then Kaido goes on to state, the problem with defeat is, so few can accept it when it arrives. As he walks away with that sword in Kinemon's back. So, like I said, Oda could pull, like, you know, a reverse, like, oh, they didn't die, but this is looking like, they look like, look, bro, motherfuckers looking pretty obviously dead in this. After all the damage they took and then being obviously stabbed. Good grief. So it's then we see the Rabbit Mary being carried by Momonosuke, because even Shinobu, she even notices, it's like, wait a minute, what are you holding? And then Momonosuke telling them that, he's like, hey, he's crying, and like, I have to tell them. And then we see that while he was freaking out, when he was hearing Luffy's voice, Luffy was telling him, Momo, tell them. He then gets on them, he then hijacks the mirror, gets on, and says, my name is Kozuki Momonosuke, to which some samurai who are out on the island, because it's being broadcast across the whole island, like, oh, it's Momonosuke, he's alive. And then he says, I pass along Luffy's words. Is he crying? And then one of the samurai is like, oh, it's because he already killed Luffy Taro. Luffy, that's what I know him as. He says that he then screams, Luffy is alive, and he tells me that he will return to the battle. So keep fighting, no matter how hard and painful it is. As long as you still breathe, continue to fight. And it's then that Luffy wasn't calling for help, as I thought, because I thought like, hey man, help me, I know I can't swim, help me. So he wasn't saying help me, he was telling Momo that look, tell everybody I'm gonna beat him, just let me know it's gonna be cool. So he wasn't calling for help, he was telling Momo that, hey, tell them I'm gonna beat them. And also, so that's kind of weird for me. Luffy's unnaturally calm in all this, because it's like, dude, you're underwater, you can't swim, but instead of saying, hey, send Jinbei down here to help me, he's saying, hey, just let them know I'm gonna win. So Momo wasn't necessarily scared, or he wasn't being accosted by the volume of the voice. It was like, I hear Luffy in my head, that's weird, and it scared him. And while this is happening, we see Yamato reacting to Momonosuke saying this. Raizo's continuing his battle with Fukurokuju, and even Jinbei is smiling while he's still continuing to fight Who's Who. Oh, and last chapter, we saw kind of how Who's Who fights. Apparently he's a kick guy. I mean, he carries a sword, so I thought he'd be mainly sword fighting, but no, he's not even fighting in his hybrid or full saber-tooth tiger form. He's fighting Jinbei normally. Although he's holding up with Jinbei, who's a former warlord, in just his regular form, that says something, but still. So then he finally just says Luffy is going to win, to which boosts the morale of everybody who hears it. You can see like the Beast Pirates who aren't on their side are jeering. Like, because even who's like, ugh. And King, you can't see his mouth, he's like, ugh. Kaido is not happy about this at all. But even Kid, who's not technically on Luffy's side, is even like, that bastard. Alright. And it's then that Kaido catches up with Momonosuke and Shinobu. And he goes to strike, but Shinobu uses her Ripe Fruit powers to detach the cliff that they were standing on to make it fall. And then underwater we see the Heart Pirates submarine, and they're looking out and they're like, wait a minute, is that a person? Wait, is that Straw Hat? And they're all like, wait, because I guess they're hearing what's happening. They're like, how is he talking in the water? But yet again, they're like, okay, you know what? Screw it, whatever. It's weird. He's like our captain. He's a weird motherfucker, so shit just happens. Just get him in here. Let's help him. So then Otama, she's still running around with Usopp and Nami, and she's crying like, thank God he's alive. And, they're like, okay, let's run up to the stage. And then you hear a voice. I'm glad to hear about Straw Hat. And they're like, wait a minute, who said that? And then we can see it looks like Zeus, or at least part of a homie, took refuge inside Nami's climb attack. So we aren't done with Nami. She's getting a power up, and it's gonna be sweet. And it's then that we cut back to the battle with Kid versus Big Mom, and it looks like they're in the thick of it. Kid, has his metallic arms, and Big Mom has Napoleon in sword form, and even Hera above him. And then the Big Mom, mama, they're just bluffing for him. If he fell into the sea, he's dead for sure. And then we see someone step up who we then figure out is Law. But the longer you work with him, the more you get this funny feeling that he'll find a way out of this in the end. And it's then that kid's like, ugh, Trafalgar, don't tell me you're to mess up my fight. And then Law is like, look, man, you gotta grow up, let's form a temporary alliance. Because even I was thinking like, okay, I think that it's gonna be a tall order for Kid himself to take out Big Mom one-on-one. But both of them, I think they can pull it off. Because in case I never spoke about this, Kid's actually my favorite of the Supernovas. Like, Luffy's my favorite Straw Hat, Zoro being a close second, but out of all the Supernovas, like, no, out of them, he's my favorite, and I want to see him shine. But I do think it's cool that they're teaming up. So then cut back to Kaido. He's not on top of the Skull Dome. He's actually outside of it, because Shinobu Momonosuke ran outside to a cliff, and that's when, like I said, she cut it off and they fell. And then we hear somebody say Kaido, and then Kaido looks up with a grimace on his face. I think you mean Father, Yamato. And then Yamato, who I'm not, but anyway, so then Yamato yells back down, no, I've come to cut those chains. And the chapter ends. Next chapter hits June 13th. Dope chapter. We got some interesting developments. Luffy says he's gonna be okay, and the Heart Pirates are on the way to help him, the crew, with John, Bart, Penguin, and the others. Nami's getting a new climb attack with a homie in it. Law and Kid are teaming up. We have a set fight with Sanji versus Queen, and it looks like the Scabbards are dropping like flies. So yeah. But without further ado, this has been your boy the D20. If you like what you heard, definitely hit the like button, comment, subscribe, and hit that bell notification to be notified of all my future releases. Yet again, this is your boy the D20 signing out. Holla at a player if you see him on the streets. Peace. Or whatever passes as a YouTube outro these days. Shit, I don't know.